Your average city or town is pretty boring, but all over the world there are mysterious towns and villages which people can't explain. These towns are sometimes weird but awesome, and sometimes they're just plain scary. From an illegal underground city where 50,000 people live, to a town in the USA which has been on fire for 60 years. Underground City, China. During the Cold War, China decided to build some bomb shelters under Beijing, China. The underground Great Wall was built for military defense. That's because China anticipated a nuclear war with the Soviet Union. But of course, the Soviet Union no longer exists. So you may think that this underground city is now empty. But no, 50,000 people live underground in Beijing. It's actually illegal to do this. So that's why the population has to be under the radar. I guess that's easy when you're literally living like a mole. The city is complete with many things. There are small houses for people to live in, but there's also restaurants, hospitals, and schools. There are theaters, factories, a roller skating rink, and also a grain mill. There's even an oil warehouse and a mushroom cultivation farm. That's because mushrooms can grow underground with no sunlight. The people who live there are mostly poor young people from other parts of China. They come to Beijing but want somewhere cheap to stay so they can get some work. You can rent a space underground in this city for about $57 per month. You enter the underground city through a very discreet doorway, and the living conditions under here are not great. Things are quite dirty because everyone is quite poor and can't afford a cleaner. Also, everything is done by artificial light because of course there's no natural light underground. There are also hallways filled with trash. People often share very small rooms together. This of course costs less money, but it means you have no space or privacy. The people who live underground are known as the Rat Tribe of Beijing, or at least that's what the higher class people in China call them. Thankfully, most of the young people who move here can find work at some point. They can then start to live the dream of living not underground. Centralia, USA. There's lots of great towns and cities in the United States. Some are very safe and affluent, while others are on the more dangerous side. But Centralia in Pennsylvania is a town like no other. That's because it's been on fire for more than 50 years. It was once a bustling mining town, but a hidden underground fire turned Centralia into a ghost town. Centralia had a booming economy thanks to its mine, and over 1,200 people lived in the town. But it could not be more different today. All of the buildings are abandoned and the only thing living here is smoke. The mine fire happened in 1962, and the fire actually began simply out of laziness. The city needed to clear up some trash because of a big Memorial Day celebration they had. So that's why they decided to put the trash into the mine and then set fire to it. This then spread through the rest of the mine and created a gigantic fire under the town. The mines all closed because of unsafe carbon monoxide levels. The ground then got hotter and hotter. In some locations, the roads are 900 degrees Fahrenheit, or 482 Celsius. Poisonous gas filled everyone's homes and basements. Sinkholes in the road began to form, with smoke pouring out of them. A 12-year-old boy even fell into a sinkhole created by the fire, and the town's 2 cemeteries even dropped into the fire below them. Eventually, Congress bought out the residents and told them to leave town. According to the EPA, the fire could burn for another 100 years, and some have nicknamed Centralia the United States' Chernobyl. That's because it's very toxic and dangerous and you can't live there. Kalachi, Kazakhstan. What if I told you there's a mysterious town in Kazakhstan where everyone sleeps for days? That's the case with Kalachi, or as it's nicknamed, Sleepy Hollow. People in this village would get a sleeping sickness which caused them to fall unconscious for days. Sometimes people walking down the street would fall asleep all of a sudden. They would then stay there sleeping for 2 days. People also experience bizarre hallucinations. For example, one girl said she saw an elephant trunk on her mother, and one boy imagined horses and light bulbs flying around his head. The men there wake up after 12 hours to 6 days. For many years, it was a total mystery as to why this happens. No one knew why this mysterious village made everyone fall asleep. This led to it being nicknamed the Village of the Damned. That's because many believed that it was cursed. But the truth is far more reasonable. To find the cause, we need to look at the town next to Kalachi. This is the now abandoned mining town of Krasnogorsk. This was a uranium mining town, but the uranium mines had gas leaking out of them. This gas then floated over to Kalachi and caused everyone to get sick. This sickness caused the hallucinations and the sleeping. It took a long time for them to work this out, as there's only 160 people in Kalachi. But they only solved this mystery in 2012. Side effects also included headaches and memory loss. And researchers found that the village has abnormally high carbon monoxide and hydrocarbon levels. 68 of the 223 families in the village have moved. But believe it or not, there are still people living here today. Even though they know the risk, I guess home is where the heart is. Derinkuyu, Turkey. We've already seen one very mysterious underground city in China, but China is not the only country with mysterious underground cities. And in many ways, this ancient city is even more mysterious. It goes down 200 feet below the ground, and it's large enough for 20,000 people to live in it. It was first built in the soft volcanic rock, and it's said this would have happened between 8 or 7 BC. Amazingly though, for centuries, this village was abandoned and forgotten about. But in 1963, a resident in the local area found a mysterious room behind a wall in his home. He dug into it further and then found a network of tunnels. In 1969, it was further excavated and they found the underground city. The inside looks amazing and it's massive. People would have literally lived like moles in caves. And remember, this was before artificial lighting, so they'd have done everything by candlelight. Midrus Odrzyński, Poland. In one tiny Polish village, there's a big mystery. That's that there are no boys ever born in this village. It's what's known as a strange population anomaly. That's because every single baby ever born in this village has been a girl. It's not known why the genetics of new babies are always girls in this village. The villagers have desperately tried to have a baby boy, but it's never worked. They've even tried some unorthodox tactics told to them by spiritual people. For example, sometimes mothers change their diets to try and get a boy. Sometimes they'll also keep an axe under their marital beds. But many scientists say this is simply a weird statistical coincidence. The chance of having a boy is 1 out of 2. But just because one mother doesn't have a boy doesn't mean it's more likely for the next one to have a boy. So that's why in theory this town could never have a baby boy. They haven't found anything special about this village, explaining why only girls are born here. Of course, men do live in this village, but they've moved from other villages. And right now, this place remains a mystery. Nagoro, Japan. Nagoro is a village built inside a volcano, but that's not even the scariest part about it. If you went here, you'd assume that you'd traveled into a scary movie, but there are 350 life-sized creepy dolls. These dolls made of straw and dressed in old clothing are all over the town. They were made 10 years ago when the population began diminishing, and a decade later you'll still find these dolls all over the place. You can even explore this town on Google Maps and see the creepy dolls. Of course, these were made when the population was going down, and right now there's only 27 people living in Nagoro, the youngest of which is over 50. It's thought that by the year 2050, there will be no people living here, only dolls. The reason many have left this village is because it's located on an island. It can be found on the island of Shikoku, but there are pretty much no jobs or opportunities here, which is why everyone's moved or passed on. Minowi, USA. We've seen towns in this video with small populations, but nothing can compare to America's smallest town. Minowi, Nebraska has only one resident. She is the town's mayor, treasurer, librarian, and bartender. Elise Eiler is 84 years old. She lived here with her husband, but he passed on, and now she's mayor of America's smallest town. Chefchaouen, Morocco. If you went to this place, you'd imagine that you've stepped into an alternate reality where everything is blue. But no, it just so happens that everything in this town is painted blue. It has 42,700 inhabitants, and the buildings are painted blue as a sign of sky and heaven. Whittier, USA. Whittier is a tiny town in Alaska where everyone lives in the same building. You'd better get on with your neighbors because everyone's living under one roof. 218 people live in this building. It's complete with a school and a post office. It even has an indoor police station. The reason why is because the Alaskan town sees 250 inches of snow every year. This means no one can really move around outside anyway. So it's easier simply to have everyone in the same building living together. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which was the most unusual town on this list. If you want some more amazing videos, check out my second channel. But as always, thanks for watching. There are some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.